Welcome back to the show. Dr. Izzo, in your book, The 5 Secrets, you talk about the people that you interviewed, that people had told you were happy. What did you learn in that process?
Yeah. What I did was I asked people, who do you know who's lived a long life and found true happiness and had something to teach us? So I wound up interviewing these 250 people from 60 to 106, all of whom had only one thing in common. Someone else said they were the happiest person they knew. Okay. There were Holocaust survivors and war veterans, entrepreneurs and poets and truck drivers with 18,000 years of life experience. And the interesting thing is I found resilience was a very good predictor of whether someone wound up being the happiest person we knew in a couple of ways. The first thing is I found that happy people don't regret their failures.
Okay.
That pretty much no one said to me, I tried for love and it didn't work out. I wish I hadn't done that. I wrote that book. No one read it. I wish I hadn't wasted my time. That business failed. What I discovered is that happy people, they try moment to moment. They give everything they do, everything they have, but they don't get so attached to judging their life. I think so much of resilience is about not judging your life, to not be constantly judging yourself as failing, succeeding, good, bad, better, worse than others. Simply moment to moment. You know, in Buddhism, they talk about attention without tension.
Okay.
How do I be in every moment without constantly needing to judge the self, to rate myself from 1 to 10, right? And that's a part of resilience. Part of resilience is being in a place of grace about yourself, but not meaning giving up, right? It's like a misinterpretation of Buddhism. Buddha went away, he realized if you don't care about anything, you won't suffer. No, what he realized is if you're in every moment fully present and you don't get so attached to how it has to turn out, you won't suffer. It's a very important distinction. Yeah.
Tell me more about attention without tension. What does that mean?
Yeah, attention without tension means I have an intention in my life, something I want to do, right? I want to be a good parent. I want to be successful in my career. I want to write a book that will be a bestseller, right? So I have this intention, but without this tension around results where I get wed to how that must look, right? Whether it's, you know, what my relationship's going to look like, that exact person, what, you know, what number I'm going to be on the New York Times bestseller list, right? Instead you say, I'm going to give everything I have to every moment, but not be in this judging mind of so much tension around the result, right? Because so much of resilience is adaptation. It's knowing that life never turns out the way you thought it would, right?
Okay.
You know, it's like, I thought if I ever did a PBS television show, I'd be, you know, I'd feel so, you know, amazingly successful. And then I got there and, you know, I loved doing it. It was very, you know, amazing, but it wasn't what I thought it would be. Of course it wasn't, right? Because nothing turns out exactly how you thought it would be. So this tension around, can I control my life? So the moment you realize you can't control life, it's a great moment. You let go of the tension, but at the same time you say, moment to moment, I'm going to be fully present. And when it comes up, I'll deal with it. That's part of resilience, is we're more resilient than we think we are, right? And most people, we underestimate our capacity to deal with change, so we worry about all these things that will happen. But when the time comes, we adapt. We have that capacity.
So what would you say to all the goal setters? Like everybody that says set goals for yourself and you have to have a vision, you have to have SMART goals for yourself. So what does that mean for the people that set goals?
Well, I say set goals for yourself, but understand that, that the moment you don't achieve that specific goal, if you start beating yourself up, you'll diminish your capacity to be successful. I'll give you a great example. We did studies years ago where we had 3 groups of people who were trying to make change in their lives, and I talk about this study in the 5 Secrets. One group, we said, what do you want to do in your life? People said, I want to eat better, I want to you know, treat my kids better, I want to be more assertive in my career, you know, and all 3 of these people, groups of people identify what they wanted to do. Then we had them do 3 different things when they left. One group we said, just try for 3 months, see what happens. Second group, we said, set specific goals for yourself and once a week check in. I'm going to run 5 times a week. I'm going to write 5 articles in the next 3 months, etc. I'm going to lose 4 pounds a week. The third group, we said, simply write on a card what you're trying to move towards in your life. I want to eat more healthy. I want to be more assertive. I want to treat those who I love with more kindness. I want to exercise more. And just look at the card 10 or 12 times a day and carry it around with you wherever you go. 3 months later, we brought them back and we measured how much change they had achieved. The people who said, I'm just going to go try harder, achieved nothing. The people who achieved, who set goals, checked in them once a week, made very small incremental changes. The people who carried a card around with them changed on average 5 to 6 times more than the goal-setting people, and here's why. The goal-setting people, the first week they didn't run 3 times, they started beating themselves up. I knew, you know, the first week they didn't lose 2 pounds, they beat themselves up. The first week they didn't write 2 articles, they beat themselves up. Guess what happened to the intentions people? They were going to take the elevator, they saw exercise more, they walked up the stairs. They woke up in the morning and said, be more assertive. They made a call they might not have made. That's attention without tension. Does that make sense? And there's nothing wrong with goals. But understand, success does not come from those goals. It comes from what we pay attention to moment without the tension of the judging mind. To me, that's a simple example. I talk about in the 5 Secrets of what I mean when I say attention without tension.
Beautifully said. And you reminded me of my grandfather, who used to, when I was little, I grew up with my grandparents, and he would ask me, he would say, Chibi, how do you want to present yourself in the world? Who do you want to be to the world? And I would listen to his question and I'd think, oh my gosh, here he goes again. Because I really didn't know what the meaning of that question was. And I wouldn't even answer. I think I would just, I don't even recall what I would say. But as I started, going through life, just a few years ago, I came back to that question of, who do I want to be to this world? And that's what brought me to your list of, I want to be this person. And that's what helped me create not the goal setting list, but the other list of what is it truly that's valuable to me, and how am I going to be in the world?
And it's not that goals are bad. I set goals all the time. But over the years, the older I get, the more I set intentions, not goals. I want to write this year. I want to put time into more time into meditation this year. Because goals are the judging mind, which is the enemy ultimately of resilience, because it causes more stress and tension. But intentions are about what's the direction. And part of that is knowing that life, when we set a goal, we may not know what form our intention should really take. When we set an intention, somehow we discover what we should really be doing with that intention around writing. Instead of, I'm going to write this book, and we found it's not the book we should have written. But if we just started writing and had the intention of writing, it would find us. And I think it has something to do with resilience, this intention without tension.
Now, how do you set intentions? How would one go about doing something like that?
Well, you know, the previous guest, Matthew, was talking about, first of all, you notice in your life, when do I light up? When am I energized? That's what we did in Awakening Corporate. So when were you on fire, if you will, and spirited? The second thing is I believe that reflection is so critical. You know, when I interviewed those people for the 5 Secrets, here's one of the things that really struck me. About 90% of the happiest people knew had reflection hardwired into their life every single day in some small way. Morning or evening, they would devote 10, 15 minutes a day just to thinking, how did my life go today? Did this go the way I wanted it to? How would I adjust it tomorrow? I would say to your viewers, here's one discipline to put into your life if you're not doing it now. 5 minutes a day reflection. How did today go? How do I want to be different tomorrow? 15 minutes a week. How did last week go? How do I want to change or adjust tomorrow, this coming week? I would guarantee anyone who implements that discipline, you do it for a year, it will transform your life. The simple act of being aware and reflecting. So that's how you find out what your intention should be. You are awake instead of asleep. You can't, if you will, reflect watching The Simpsons or just listen, in the car instead of just riding around. You're talking earlier about being in the car. Maybe turn the music off and just allow your intentions to come up for you. We're not comfortable with silence, but that's a part of the secret to finding our intentions.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Izzo, for being on the show. It was a great experience.
You're welcome. Thank you. And a great subject. And to your viewers, be resilient. It's a choice.
Perfect. Thank you.